Hello. Oof, God, sweaty. Okay, let me see. Okay, I'm on Facebook and YouTube. Okay. Just waiting for people to turn up. Whoops. Hello. I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. While we're waiting, where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. It was beautiful and sunny this morning, and now it's raining, so a bit of everything today. So where are you? What part of the world are you in? Oh, pardon me. I've just been tired all day today. Okay, so what part of the world are you in? Just waiting for everyone to turn up. I'm not usually on a Friday at this time, but there's work that I don't want to do. I'm procrastinating, so I'd rather do a live. Lupton, Michigan, welcome. Andrea David Hannenberg. Maine, hello, Maine. I actually know where that is because I never knew where that was until I started doing these lives, and now I looked it up. Fort Wayne, Indiana, welcome. Me too. I don't know where you're from, but you're from somewhere where someone else is from in here. Minnesota, welcome. Okay, we got enough people. Let's get going. I'm always on YouTube when I'm doing these. So hi, South Dakota. So YouTube is where I save all of my lives. And anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about that right now. Anyway, another Maine. Oh, lobster. Ooh, lobster. Yeah. Mexico. Welcome, Isaac. Okay, so let's get going. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I've got 2 of them now, one for toddlers, one for older kids, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list, but I will get to eventually. Hi, California. Angela Michelle Gonzalez. You've been here before, I think, that name. Although Gonzalez is a pretty common name. So anyway, so let's get going. Queensland, Australia. That's where my kids were raised in Brisbane. Where in Queensland? Rebecca? Oh, I shouldn't do this. Every time I get my kombucha at night, it's just so sour. It's tart, and it's funny. It doesn't bother me. Oh, Rocky. Oh, you're from Rockhampton. Way up there. Yeah, we're from Brisbane. Okay. Okay, well, let's get going. I'm just waiting for your parenting questions. I got a little one of those messages, and my granddaughter is 8 months old, and she's mobile now. Life will never be the same in that household. Once they're mobile, there's no stopping them. So it was cute. Michigan. Hi, Michigan. Our podcast is pretty much ready to go. We were going to be releasing it not next week, but the week after. It might be ready next week. We're not sure when we're going to release it. But yeah, we're really excited about it. We've got, I think, 8 of them already done. So, and we're going to release 3 at the same time. So anyway, we're really excited about it. It's my daughter and I. We're business partners. And I was up at 5 a.m. this morning getting the iPhone 16 Pro Max. No, Pro. Anyway, with maximum storage. Do you think phones are too expensive these days? It's for my daughter because it's the camera that we're after for podcasting and all that. But yeah, I wonder how much that costs them to make. Like I was just thinking, phones are ridiculous now. I guess they're mini computers. I get it. Okay. My 2-year-old's on a no kick. How do I kick that? You ignore it. Just ignore it. And if he says no, when you ask him to do something, pick him up and make it happen. So if you say, well, let's go brush your teeth. No, pick him up and brush his teeth. So you follow the no with an action if you have to. Otherwise, just ignore it. Hi, Perth. I've had a couple of clients from Perth in the last 6 months. But I don't recognize your name. Doesn't mean you weren't a client, I just don't recognize your name. If your name isn't unusual, I might not recognize it anyway. What are some consequences for the behavior board for 4-year-old? If you look on the behavior board, it's completely free. It'll explain that. Don't get caught up in what the consequence is. It's just like do a chore. If they like doing chores, find one they don't like. Not many kids like wiping windowsills or toothpaste out of sinks. There's certain things they just don't tend to like doing, or cleaning baseboards, but make the chore about 2 minutes long. But yeah, don't get caught up in what the consequence is. That's not the important part. Just if they do something bad, they have to replace it with a good deed by doing something good. So focus on it that way. And you'll see, check out the behavior board. It explains how you, if they won't do that, then you have a follow-up. So do you recommend the cried out method for bedtime for your 2-year-old? No, I don't. Check out my bedtime battles course. They kind of have to be mobile, like they can't be in a crib for that course. Basically, it goes from 2 to 8 years old. But yeah, you want them getting up. So yeah, I don't, a 2-year-old, I wouldn't just let them cry it out. But I want them in a bed so they can get up. There's a process of how you do that. But it's a whole process. Get in touch with Ms. Jessica Frederick. You'll see reason to thank me later for referring you to her. Allison Bishop, you're talking to. Oh, sorry. Oh, are you messaging someone else in here? And I'm like, ooh, what's going on? Sticky beak. What's going on in there? Oh, a sticky beak is a busybody. In Australia, they call it a sticky beak. It's cute, isn't it? That's where I spent 20 years there. So. Soon going to work with foster care youth. Appreciate your advice on working teens. Yeah, teenagers they're my specialty. Yeah, they're my favorite age, teenagers. Don't try and outsmart them. Don't try and be authoritative with them. Be a leader. Yeah. I'm going to read out my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. It's parenting, but it's still a pretty good one. There's a couple things in here that'll help anyone with teenagers, especially number 1. These are my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. And that's pretty much goes for anybody, really. You don't want people's advice when you unload on them, do you? You want them to go, oh, that's too bad. So anyway, and if you want their advice, you're going to ask for it, right? So it's the same with adults. Number 2, negotiate pretty much everything. Say, hey, I want you to do this. What do you want from me? So the third one is don't sweat the small stuff. This isn't for what you're doing, but for parents. Don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something small, like something bad, and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? So humanize yourself and show them that we all make mistakes, and that's okay. Save your energy for the big stuff if you even need it. Okay, and number 4 is don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. A lot of parents do this. I'll teach them how to connect with their teenager. Then they'll be out enjoying each other's company. And then the parent will use that time to talk about all the things they've done to disappoint them over the last year or 2. And then they can't figure out why their teenager gave them the finger and walked out of the room. They can't put that together. But yeah, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. And I would say, don't discuss the bad times. Don't discuss bad behavior. What's the point? Deal with it, move on. And don't wallow in the negative. Well, you guys are chatting away together. How to teach your 19-month-old to speak and not just point and hum. I wouldn't rush that. Emma, is that your first? Yeah, I wouldn't rush that. They'll eventually learn. I knew someone who a long time ago who didn't speak or walk till she was 3. And then the mother, always very funny mother, always laughed and joked and said, then she got up on her 3rd birthday, she got up, ran, and never shut up. So she was just waiting. She just was in no rush. So yeah, generally a lot of 19-month-olds aren't speaking. So if you're really worried, go to a pediatrician or something. I'm not saying don't be concerned. I wouldn't be though, 19 months old. But to each his own. If you're really worried, then you have to check with a professional. I'm not a professional. What do I do if my kid won't stop jumping on me and hitting me? He's 3 and has speech delays. Speech delays are not do not always equate or go along with cognitive delays. So if it's just a speech delay, that has nothing to do with his cognitive ability. I would just say stop being too rough. Put that on the behavior board, and if he gets too rough, there's a consequence. Yeah, I don't want to discuss speech too much. The reason is there's a couple of questions here about that. Is because, oh, hi, Prince George on YouTube, Katie. Because I'm not a speech pathologist or a pediatrician or an expert in that, but generally they will start mimicking other people around them. So they kind of want to talk usually. Unless they get everything they want, they can just point and they'll get everything they want. Maybe if they point and you know they want something, you might say, oh, say please or whatever. So you could encourage that. But yeah, they all talk at different. My son came out of the womb talking. He was just talking. So he was really fast. My daughter, not so much. She was in no rush. I think she couldn't have got a word in edgewise between her brother and me. So, but yeah, my son came out of the womb just chatty as anything. But my daughter, not so much. They're all different, right? So I'm scrolling ahead to make sure you're still, oh, geez, a lot of questions there. What are some good consequences for him being rough? Yeah, check out the behavior board. It's completely free. It's in the link above. And don't get caught up in what the consequence is. It's just consistency. If they do something bad, you replace it with a good deed. That's basically the way you look at it. Don't get caught up in what it is. Everyone wants to, like, there's some miracle. If they can get the perfect consequence, it'll solve everything in one day. It doesn't go like that. The consequence isn't the point. Just have one and be consistent with it. So the behavior board's free. It's in the link above. Or you can look up, if you want more information, look up the boot camp course. That would be from 3 to 12 years old for your age. That was, I think, a 3 or 4-year-old. Qualicum Beach. Why do I not know? I feel like I should know where that is. I'm going to look it up. I'm curious. Why is that so familiar? Qualicum Beach. Oh, it's on the island. I don't know anything about Vancouver Island. I've been to Victoria. Yeah, a long time ago. Sorry, I don't know anything. I knew it was familiar, but I never, yeah, I don't know anything about the island. People say, you know, when you go past Duncan and no, is Duncan on the island? I'm not sure. Now I'm not sure. Now I'm embarrassed. Anyway, yeah, sorry. I'm a city girl. If I go away somewhere, it's New York or so. Like I need city. Say I never holiday anywhere quieter than Vancouver. Okay. You're asking me about someone else's child. I don't really answer those questions because I can't tell you how to manage a situation with someone else's child. If you have to be around that child all the time, yeah, I'm in an awkward spot with that. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how to manage someone else's kid because I never would. If the mother was around, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Plus, even if you're babysitting or teaching or child psychology, I don't give advice on any of that because I only teach parenting. So I never advise how you look at how you manage someone else's kid. North of Parksville now. Parksville. Oh, I see. Okay, I didn't know where that was either. Now I do. Oh, so you're north of Nanaimo. I didn't know that the island was on a slant. I thought it was straight up and down, but it's on a slant. Yeah, I'm right downtown Vancouver. And that's all I know. I walk everywhere. But yeah, okay, now I know Parksville. I have heard of it. Brisbane, from Brizzy. Whereabouts? We're from Arana Hills, which is near Ferny Grove, which is the end of the western train line, northwestern suburbs. So where are you from? Where in Brizzy are you? Retired school bus driver. Oh my God, what a job that would be. 14 grandchildren, still looking for tips for me and my 7 children. Wow. A school bus driver. I'll be honest, I couldn't think of any more stressful job than that. I couldn't even imagine that, but good for you. Are you hard of hearing now? Like I could just imagine that the noise level must have been unbelievable. And 7 children. Wow. I think the most kids one of my clients had, I think, was 8. And I'll tell you, that behavior board was a lot of work, like setting it up for all the kids. So we focused on systems. You know what was interesting is like a few months ago, I had a client, and I think they had 7 kids. And I said, what about sharing? Is that an issue? And they said, oh, no, we've got that figured out. And I said, oh, tell me. And what they did, that was so smart. They had a lot of systems. They were really good at that. The kids were all good at sharing. And, but anyway, what they did was they said, whenever there's a new toy that comes into the house, whoever is the receiver of that, like if it's their birthday, it's only they can play with it for the first week or until they get tired of it. So, and sometimes that would be in a day or two, and then it's everybody's. And they never had a problem with it because everyone had to do it like their whole lives. They started that when they were little. How freaking smart is that, eh? So just the receiver of that gift, it's only theirs for 1 week, and then it's everybody's. And none of the kids had a problem with it. Ooh, near Carindale. Oh, okay, near Carindale. So you're in the western suburbs. Carindale. Yeah, it was northwestern. So I have to look it up. Oh, sorry, you're south. Yeah, I thought I had that wrong. I was thinking, what was I thinking? No, what was I thinking? Anyway, sorry. I haven't been there since 2005. Yeah, I never spent a lot of time in the southern suburbs, so I don't know that very well at all. Just drove through there to get to the Gold Coast, right? Corryong, Victoria. I don't know. I've never heard of that before. Corryong. Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, Chris. Oh, you've been here before. I was up early this morning, and because I had to pre-order the new iPhone 16 for my daughter. She works with me. She had to get the Pro, evidently, because it's got a camera that's really good. And we do she's going to use it for podcasting and that. So yeah, I wonder how much. I mean, I know how much we paid for that thing. How much? I wonder how much it cost them to make. I was thinking that earlier. I think it's astronomical. And sometimes I don't mind paying for stuff if it's worth it. We'll see if it's worth it. I don't know. But anyways, I was up early making sure we got on that pre-order list. Okay, my 2-year-old's starting to get loud in public places. I shush him or tell him inside voice and he gets louder. Yeah, of course he does. How do I get that control back and not get him to keep getting loud? You don't necessarily do that when you're out. You do that when you're home, and you just say no when he starts getting loud. You walk away. You just go like that and walk away. He'll eventually learn. And then when you go out in public, you kind of want to do the bulk of that at home. And then when you go out in public, you want to do the same thing and then just ignore him. Just look away. So he'll eventually get it. Not right away. It might take weeks or months. Okay, he's 2. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers, because they're just nuts. Well, I always call them crazy, but they just haven't developed sanity yet. They're brand new. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. They're in the discovery stage, okay? Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, to me, a toddler is 16 to 35 months. It's just in my own way of doing it. Then you do so in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. And when you want to discipline a toddler, it's the same thing. It's in their world. It's not about words. They're about actions. They're not listening to you. They're watching you. So you use consistent corrective actions. They learn through repetition. So you remove them from the fun or fun from them just temporarily. But you got to be consistent. They remember the time you do it wrong. They just do. You can do it right 9 times in a row. You mess it up the 10th time, and that's the time they focus on. So it's just the way kids are. They're always looking for you to mess up. Arlington, South Dakota. Welcome, Memphis, Tennessee. I got to get down south one day. I've never been south. I only had a layover in Texas once. A lot of my clients are Texas and southern states. like South Carolina, except I love Southern accent. Love it. It just sounds friendly. Orlando, Florida. Hi there. Oh, I don't know what your grandson. Oh, I don't discuss grandparenting. I only teach parenting. Like I'm a grandmother. I'm very different with my granddaughter than I was with my kids because it's not my child, right? So yeah. Western Australia says hi. Hello, Western Australia. Never made it west. I was in Australia for about 20 years, and whenever someone would visit, like a tourist or something, and someone visiting Australia, oh, where can we go? Well, I'd say, I don't know. I got pregnant the day I arrived, and I've just been out in the suburbs raising kids. So I never traveled around Australia. I never saw it as a tourist. I just lived there. Plus, in all those years, I never had one North American friend. Isn't that bizarre? You'd think I would have, wouldn't you? Yeah, all my friends were Aussies, Kiwis, or Pommies. And isn't that funny, though, that I never had one North American friend in all those years? I never looked for it, though. Like I just wanted to be Australian, right? Well, someone's on here answering questions here. Sometimes if I can't get to all the questions, especially on Instagram and TikTok, those are my bigger platforms. And sometimes people who are regulars will answer questions for me. Sometimes I would say 99% of the time it's spot on. But every so often it's like, I wouldn't recommend that. But it's rare. I don't always see that though. So otherwise I would correct it all. Okay, I'm going to look on YouTube now. Do your kids have more of a Canadian or an Aussie accent? My son's more Australian because he was 15 when we moved here. My daughter was 10. She's Canadian, but other people have commented on her too. So every so often she'll come out with something. But a lot of our lingo is Aussie. Like I still don't say a kitchen counter. To me, it's a bench. And it's not a car trunk, it's a boot. The back of a car to me is always a boot. So there's certain things that we say that are still Aussie, like a sweater is a jumper, and all my baby terms are Australian. Yeah. So just because that's where I raised my kids they were babies over there. So yeah. So we're all we're lucky we've got that bilingual, or not bilingual, what's it called, dual citizenship. So 2 great countries to have dual citizenship with. Okay. My 10-year-old girl keeps having hygiene issues in the bathroom. She keeps lying about bathing and wiping properly. What can I do? I'm 31 weeks pregnant. So she's 10 years old. Yeah, you're just going to have to supervise her. And I would get in there and say, here's how you do it. Maybe she just doesn't know. And say, look, this is just part of life. Don't shame her, though. No shame around this sort of stuff. You already probably know that anyway. But yeah, just say, look, hygiene is something that we all have to learn how to do. So here, I'm going to get you, and say, buy her some special stuff that she likes. She might, like certain, I don't know, containers or something, like pretty jars or something that she might like. So, but yeah. Okay, is one of your eyes green and the other one blue? No, they're both really lime green, really light. More bloodshot these days. As you get older, the whites of your eyes aren't as bright as you get older. Yeah, I'm just falling apart here. I'm in my 60s now. I love being in my 60s. Oh, for God's sake, quit being nasty on here. You always get these types on here. Well, I don't always get these types, actually. But yeah, sometimes you get some nasty people. Just ignore anyone being nasty on here. They're just desperate for attention. Okay. I'm a new grandma. So am I. My granddaughter's 8 months old. For a refresher, my baby is now 30. I love all your advice. And yes, I'm following what my daughter wants and be consistent. Yeah, it's none of my business how my kids raise their kids. And they may do a better job than I did. I don't know. I've never said I was perfect, but what I teach is I know it works pretty darn well. But yeah, they're doing a great job and I'm thrilled. I mean, they're just doing a great job. So I'm just there to support and do whatever. And yeah, I would never offer advice because I think that's insulting. If you offer unsolicited advice to someone, it's criticism. It would be like saying, hey, I have a great diet you could try. Just trying to help. That passive aggressive stuff. Yeah, don't ever offer to help. Wait till someone asks. Actually, I have to keep checking with my daughter-in-law because whenever it's around food or anything, because everything's so different. Like, when I raised my kids, I had 5 years between them. And there was a lot of differences in those 5 years. Like with my son, you were supposed to lay them to sleep on their side. With my daughter, you lay them to sleep on their back. And then with my son, you start feeding them solids at 3 months, I think it was. Whereas my daughter was more like, it was like a few months difference when you start feeding them solids. So yeah, it was weird just in those 5 years. So yeah, now it's all different. And I'm sure it'll be different in another couple of years. So yeah. That's Sandra. Wow. Okay, that really makes sense. Yeah, about the offering advice. Is that what you're talking about? We've all known bossy know-it-alls. You know what you should do? As soon as someone starts like that, or the worst thing, don't be offended. But in other words, I'm going to be offensive. That kind of passive aggressive person. We've all known someone like that. You know what you should do? Luckily, I've called everyone in my life that has a trait like that. They're gone. I'm 63. I can do whatever I want now. But yeah, like I'm just trying to help. Yeah, right. We're on to you. Actually, I think with my son and his girlfriend, they've already said this though. I think my son will be more likely to give in for sure. Because I think because his girlfriend's so good at all that stuff, I think she's going to be a great leader. And so I think my son will be the one to give in. But maybe he wouldn't be so much if she wasn't such a good leader. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe that's just freed him up to. Same with my husband. When my kids were growing up, I was more the leader, so I didn't want him messing the kids up. So I didn't want him interfering in what I was doing. So he just supported it. And it worked out great. But yeah, I think my son will be more like that. He's already, we can see it. He's going to give in to her. Okay. Oh, someone here keeps giving advice. I got to correct this one. Give them timeout for 3 minutes. Tell them I hate timeout. I can't stand it. I think it's humiliating and mean. So I don't recommend timeout. So yeah, I don't do it. Just in case you think that person is speaking for me, they're not at all. Oh, I'm a grandma raising my 4 grandkids. Good for you. So happy. So I do give grandparenting advice if you've got, if you're what do they call that? I was going to say if you own the kids. What's that called? Custody. If you've got custody, then that's parenting, right? Yeah, that saying, and don't be offended, but I've met many people who are that stupid that they think they can get away with that without exposing what they're really like. But yeah, don't be offended. But it's I always jump in right away and say, but you're going to say something offensive. Am I right? And they go, oh, no. And then that shuts them up right away. Yeah, I've never been bullied, obviously. Yeah. Isn't that a good one? Don't be offended, but instead of timeout, what do you recommend? Everything else I'm talking about. Timeout is usually done with young children, and it's just mean. So I suggest that you use consistent corrective actions. If they're 3 and over, then you use the behavior board, and there's a consequence. And there's no way I would send a kid away from me if I'm disciplining a child. No way. No way. Imagine if you were at work and you made a mistake and your boss said, you messed up, you go sit in the corner for 30 minutes. Okay, it might be a great coffee break, but you know the idea, like how humiliating. It's very patronizing, degrading, and you don't learn anything. You just feel like crap. And that kid is not sitting in the corner thinking about what they did wrong. Guaranteed, they're not. They're sitting in the corner feeling like garbage. If you want to lower a child's self-esteem, start using timeout. I love how blunt you are. Yeah, I don't have a filter. Not at all. I used to wish I do, but now at my age, I don't care. Plus, I trust myself. I'm a nice enough person. I'm not going to be nasty. And if I am, it's because someone needs to hear it, like a bully. Okay. Okay. Someone said on YouTube, my 2-year-old is all of a sudden talking really fast and nonstop. Is there a way to slow him down or teach patience? He'll learn. He'll learn that you might just go, ooh, slow down, talk like that. Eventually, they don't learn right away. By the way, toddlers and children do not act out because they don't understand right from wrong. That's why you never discuss bad behavior. What's the point? They already know. Just say that was bad. Here's the consequence. Don't discuss bad behavior. They don't act out from a lack of understanding. They don't act out because you haven't discussed their big feelings and big emotions. All that garbage, it's ridiculous. That's not what they need. They need a consequence and then move on. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. Okay, I got to move over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's the same BratBusters. And anyway, what was I going to say? I was going to say something about Facebook here. Nope, got nothing to say. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. If you check out the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now. Or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list, but I will get to you eventually. I think I got to almost everybody this week. It was a good week. Was really rough over the summer. I didn't expect to be that busy over the summer, but I think I've got to almost everybody this past week. So it's going well. Okay, thanks so much for joining me. I'm hopping over to Instagram and I'm on YouTube the whole time. Happy parenting. Whoops, sure, come on. There we go. Okay, I'm on Instagram. I just like to take a bit of a break when I'm transferring over because my throat gets sore. Okay, this is from Anna on YouTube. My 4-year-old hates PJs. I don't know what he says. I'll be liking them. Okay, so okay, I don't quite understand this. My 4-year-old hates PJs. I don't know why he says I like to be ready in the morning. It's a fight every night. Should I put that on as a consequence or let it go and let him win? I don't understand that one. I do have, is it a bedtime battles thing? And if he hates pajamas, does he need to wear pajamas? Like I never wear pajamas. I don't like them. So that's a little bit too personal. Sorry about that. Just TMI, Lisa, TMI. As I say, I got no filter. Anyway, so maybe just get him to wear like a tank top and underpants or something if you want something on him. I don't know. Is that the problem? It's not so much him winning, it's just respecting the fact maybe he's uncomfortable in the pajamas. I don't know. Ontario. Hi, Ontario. Australia. Hello, Australia. Yeah, I'm half Australian. I've got dual citizenship. Okay. Ouch, itchy back. Okay. What was I going to say? I'm almost at 500,000 here on Instagram. So yeah, thanks so much for your support. Can you imagine 500,000 people? I sometimes can't even imagine. My biggest one is TikTok, but Instagram's right in the middle there. 500,000 people. Imagine that. That's just, wow. My head can't even get wrapped around that. Anyway, thanks so much. I put out as much information as I can on here, and I hope it's helping. And I appreciate your support. So thank you so much for that. Anyway, my name's Lisa. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. You can go on the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list. Actually, I got a few people added today. I have a wait list, but I will get to eventually. So anyway, let's get going with your questions. I'll do my best to answer them. I was up early pre-ordering the new iPhone. My daughter got, it's for our podcasting. She wants that really good camera on the Pro. And I was just thinking today, I don't know much about equipment, but I wonder how much it costs them to make one of those phones, because I know how much I paid for that thing, or we paid for that. We're partners. So I was just thinking, I wonder how much it costs them to make that thing. I'm just saying. Okay, what's a good consequence for a 2-year-old other than timeout? Yeah, I hate timeout. So use consistent corrective actions. You remove them from the fun, or the fun from them for just a few minutes or whatever. If they throw a toy, you pick it up and put it away. You say no, and you put it away where they can see it, but they can't touch it. Maybe for half an hour or the whole day. I don't know what's going on in your household. But yeah, you remove that. But you got to be fast. They have to connect what they just did to what you're doing. And when I say you remove them from the fun, it's not timeout. You take them with you. Like you just pull them away from the fun. If they're getting nasty because they're playing with someone else and they're starting to grab stuff, you just say no and you pull them away from the fun, from the activity, and just keep them with you in the kitchen or something for a few minutes. But don't talk to them. Don't lecture them about what just happened. A lot of parents do that. It's a huge mistake. You don't want me to go into all the psychology behind that, or do you? You pulled them away from the fun, and a natural instinct for a lot of parents is to discuss why you did that and what they did wrong. Don't do that. Big mistake. Okay, let me see here. Oh, someone said my kids love cleaning. So what you're probably going to do is, what your probably question is, wait a minute, is what do you do for your, how long are my wait lists? They can be anywhere from a week to a month. So I don't know. I just sent out a bunch of invoices yesterday, and they've only got 2 days to pay. If they don't pay, then I'll have more spots open. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a 2-day lull there where I have to wait and see who signs up, because not everyone signs up when I send out an invoice. Because often by the time I get back to them, they might have already bought the course or something instead. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. Okay, my kids love cleaning, and using that as a consequence doesn't feel effective, but timeout also wasn't. He's 2 and he has a slight speech delay. The speech delay has nothing to do with cognitive ability generally. Like it's not an indicator of cognitive ability. Okay, so we're just going to go with the fact he understands this. So if he loves cleaning, get him to do something like help make your bed, or get him to, I don't know, clean a windowsill or something. It doesn't really matter if he, oh, wait a minute. If he's he's 2. Oh, sorry, he's 2. Okay, no, you just pull him away from the fun, or pull the fun away from him just for a minute or two. It's consistent corrective actions. You don't get him to do a chore when he's 2. Yeah, it's those consequences start at the age of 3. Under the age of 3, it's consistent corrective actions right in the moment. You pull him away from the fun, or the fun away from him, just for a few minutes. You got to be fast. You got to do it every single time. He'll eventually learn. And don't talk about it. Just say no and pull him away, or take the toy away, whatever. The thing is, they usually go into a tantrum if that happens. And that's the lesson right there. You want them to do that. And you just ignore tantrums. Let him process what just happened. That's how they do it. If you interrupt that tantrum, you're interrupting his learning. You're interrupting the lesson. They're learning how to self-regulate by having tantrums. And when they hear the word no, if that sends them into a tantrum, then they have to learn to get themselves out of it. You're just standing there filing your nails waiting. As soon as they're done, oh, you all done? You want to go read a book? Like the tantrum never even happened. Okay, I don't mind sarcasm, but how do I redirect sarcasm with my 10-year-old when it's disrespectful? Sarcasm's tricky. It can be mean. So I would just say, I'll tell you what, let's just ban sarcasm for a while. And that means this and that and this and that, because a lot of people hide behind it and they think that they're being funny. You know what I mean? Like it can be used as a cover, just being sarcastic. Okay, so let's just cut out the sarcasm. It's like pranking people. I'm a pretty big tease, like with my kids. But like I used to hide under the bed and grab my son's ankle when he walked past. But the thing is, he laughed. He liked it. But my daughter, I never did that with. She didn't like it. So, and my son, when he became a teenager, it was payback big time. He was way better at that stuff than I ever was. And I couldn't complain about it because I tortured him growing up. So, but I never did that to my daughter, and she never did it to me. So yeah, we're all different, but sarcasm can be a cover for some nasty stuff. So just ban it. Say no sarcasm, no pranks, nothing like that. Those are the types of things that can go wrong. What do you do with a 5-year-old? Well, I'm just going to answer one of these questions. What do you do with a 5-year-old whose reaction to being told no is to whine? Well, I ignore that. Just say no, and he starts whining, and I'm off doing the dishes. Like, I wouldn't give that any weight whatsoever. If he's 5 and he's still whining, it means it must work. It must bother you. You must get into discussions about it. So he's winning. And he knows it. Well, you said that you play rough, like throwing balls and everything outside with your 2-year-old, or he's almost 2. He's like, what, 22 months. But then he doesn't understand inside. Make sure there's nothing to throw inside. Get rid of all the balls, put them all away. You can't expect him to understand he's got the same outside toy that he can throw and then he can't throw it. That's the inconsistency. Like he can learn that he can ride a bike outside, but not inside. He can learn that. So don't bring the bike inside because you can't expect him not to ride it. I know that I have friends who, or have seen people talk about this. And they say, what do I do? He brings the scooter inside and he's scooting around the house and it literally cuts up the wood floor and wrecks it. And I'm like, why on earth would you let a scooter into a house? Like why would you do that? That's on you. I wouldn't let the outside balls into the house. If you don't want them to play with the outside, if you don't want them to do that activity inside the house, don't give it to them. So yeah, but why would you let a scooter or a bike? I've heard people say, oh, and they scuff up the walls and with bikes in the house, like literally a bike in the house and kids are running. I would never do that. It would just destroy the house. They can learn that there's a difference when you're outside and when you're inside, but you've got to be in control of that is what I'm saying. You be the leader with this stuff. Oh, you got a 2.5-year-old who cries every time you go home from the playground. So leaving somewhere fun, that's the transition stuff. So it's hard to leave somewhere fun. He's only 2.5. You can give a bit of a warning. It's probably not going to work. I did that with my son. He would often cry when we were doing transitions. And tantrum. So you just pick him up and haul him out of there, put him in the car seat and drive away. You make sure that you follow through. If you're leaving, leave. Don't say, okay, one more swing. Ooh, big mistake. Once you've said we're leaving now, you have to leave. But you can give them a heads up. Say, we're going to be leaving soon. Probably won't work, though. They eventually learn. It's one of those. They eventually learn, but not right away. Timeout? No, I hate timeout. Can't stand it. Meltdown in the library, let it happen? Oh, God, no. I would take them out and let it happen in the parking lot. I would not disturb a library, a restaurant, and on an airplane, I would give a kid whatever they want. There's no way I would not ignore a tantrum on an airplane. I would not put a bunch of passengers through that. I think it's rude. So I would give in to whatever a child wants on an airplane. They learn that they only get that on a plane. But yeah. Yeah, I would not disturb a library. I would cart them out of there and let them scream in the parking lot. So he said, my 3-year-old doesn't have any screen time. What would be the correct consequence to do after the cleaning? Well, they only have to do the other consequence if they don't clean. So you mean the other one? So the second consequence is only there if they won't do the first one. So the first consequence is always a positive action. If they won't do that, that's fine. Then you do a negative deprivation. You take something away. It has to be something like a favorite toy that they play with every single day. That goes away for a whole day. It doesn't have to be screen time. It can be anything. Or you can invent leverage, but don't start with this. Inventing leverage is when you say something like this. Okay, so you chose not to do that chore, which was the consequence for hitting or whatever. So tonight we were going to surprise you and take you out for ice cream. Now we're not going to go. So you just invented leverage. You were never going to go out for ice cream, but he doesn't know that. So that you just rip that out from under him. You don't have to take him the next night. You don't owe him that. Can we go tomorrow night? No, it was just going to be a surprise that night. You can take him out if you want, but you don't owe him that. Just sort of you've just invented leverage. I don't like starting with that. It's kind of next level, but if you got nothing else, you invent leverage. There's lots of ways that you can do that. Oh God, you're going to hate me. Oh, you're going to hate me. I got to say it. Do you believe in giving toddlers alternatives? For example, you want the red shirt or the blue shirt in order to satisfy his need for autonomy and reduce tantrums. I'm sorry, but no. You can give him choices, but a 2-year-old, a toddler, does not need autonomy. They need leadership. They can choose to do the right thing or the wrong thing. That's their autonomy. But if they do the wrong thing, there's a consequence. And that does not reduce tantrums. It actually makes them worse, because then they want to control everything. Okay? It's a fine line. You can give them choices. Do you want to play with this toy or that toy? Something that doesn't have to be done. But if you have to get them dressed, I wouldn't give them a choice with that. Yeah, because you got to get out the door. But I would give them a choice. Which toy do you want? Because it doesn't matter what, right? So yeah, a toddler does not need autonomy. And it does not reduce tantrums. It has the opposite effect. So do you hate me? You've probably already left by now. That's okay. I got to say what I got to say. It was funny. I was coaching the other day, and I sometimes think, God, I can't believe how nasty I am in coaching, because I just say what they have to hear. Anyways, and I said to this one mom, I was like dreading what I had to tell her. So anyway, I told her, and I said, you have to do this because this is what you're doing wrong in that. And then she said at the end of the session, she might be here, I don't know. She said at the end of the session, she said to me, she goes, oh, thanks. She goes, I never feel judged by you. I always feel like you're just on my side. And I thought, really? I always think I'm being so nasty, but it's mothering. Like, I feel like I'm mothering. It just struck me as so funny that I thought, oh God, I felt so nasty. And she came out like I was so nice to her. Oh, it's funny. You know, people hire me to fix problems, not to coddle them. So unless I get someone really fragile, sometimes I do. I'll get people who have anxiety or mental health issues, parents, and or postpartum. Then they'll get a different side. But generally, I have to go for it to get the best results. Yeah, love that invented leverage ice cream devastation. That's fire. Oh, it can be. I had a family, I think it was last year, and they lived in Anaheim near Disneyland. So, and they hardly ever went. They didn't have a lot of money, so they didn't go a lot, right? They had lots of kids. So they didn't have any leverage. It was chaos in the house. So I said, here's what you're going to do. So I don't recommend this. This was like next level. We had to just figure, and I didn't want to do it, but I said to them, you know what we're going to be doing? And I said, make sure you can afford to do it, because they were planning on going to Disneyland. They were saving up for it. Okay. So I said, okay, tell them you're going to be going to Disneyland this Saturday. And they lived right near there. So I said, tell them you're going to be going this Saturday, and you're going to be leaving at 9. So tell them that. The kids were all excited all week, and they were just out of control. They were nasty as always. They were fighting, all this stuff. So then, and you don't say, if we have a good week, don't say that. Just say, we're going to be going. So anyway, then use the behavior boards as best you can. Nothing was working. So then Saturday morning comes along, and the parents, this is what I told them to say. It was 9 o'clock when they were supposed to be leaving. And they said, I'll tell you what, we didn't have a very good week, did we? Because remember on Tuesday you did that, and then Thursday, and say, I'll tell you what, we're not going to go to Disneyland today. We're going to go next week if we have a better week. Whoa. And I said, be prepared for a nasty Saturday. And it was. But how good do you think they were the next week? And then once they started being good and well behaved, the family just got happier. And weeks after, they didn't have to go to Disneyland every week. It just, everything got easier after that. But I hated doing that one. But we had to do it. It worked. You got a 22-month-old running away. That's a runner. There's 4 things toddlers are born to do or they're never going to do. One is tantrums, one is climbing, one is hitting, and one is running. Climbing and running often go together because they have no fear, right? They're just more adventuresome. They don't always go together, but sometimes they do. But if they're runners, you say, look, you can't run away from me anymore. So you put a harness on them before you go out. And then as soon as they start to run, you clip them in. And you have to clip them on that leash and keep them there for the rest of that outing. But I suggest if you're going to be doing this and training them with this method, go somewhere, like do some practice runs, go places you don't really care about, right? So don't wait and do that when you're going to church or something. Go pretend you're going to go to the park or somewhere fun, and do it there. 7-year-old boy who still wets his bed. He might have some emotional issues. He might have a weak bladder. He might have a small bladder. I don't know. I would have him checked out by a doctor first. But bedwetting can go into adulthood. And I don't know. There's lots of medical reasons for that, right? So there's lots of things you can do, but I'm not a doctor. I know what in coaching I do discuss this, but I'm uncomfortable discussing it on here because I'm not a doctor. I would check with a medical practitioner about that. Make sure it's nothing physical first. And then they'll probably say, do the start stop, right? So he starts peeing, then he starts and stop. You're strengthening the bladder, the muscles, the release muscles. And but yeah, and never, ever shame him. You haven't left. Oh, I've got to say what I got to say. Okay, Mom's Bank. They still constantly want to spend 8, 10. Should I say no to junk or let them go broke? That's a very good question. I'll tell you why I don't want to answer that. I don't know your dynamic. It depends on what kind of household you got going. Like that's sort of, I'd need to know a bit more. I'd need to assess the situation to decide how to move forward with that. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not saying, I don't think you need to hire me for coaching, but that's what you'd have to do if you really want me to assess that. I don't think you need full coaching just for that. But yeah, I need to ask more questions. Like what kind of parent are you? What's happened in the past? Are they used to being able to spend a lot of money? Are they spoiled? Do you buy them treats? I don't know. 2-year-old potty training tips. I can't talk about that because I've got a whole course on it. It's a whole system. You can check it out. It's in the link above. I trained my son in 1 day and my daughter in 2 days. No pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. I was already a leader though, which helped, but it's a great way to get some more leadership skills because it's a potty party, not for you, but for them. One of the parents who bought that course, they sent us my daughter and I, a bunch of pictures, and she's got balloons and streamers and like, it's a party, just you and your kid. And it's a messy party, but it's a party. So you want to keep it all positive. And no one's asked me to explain why you don't discuss bad behavior. I'm shocked. Usually someone does. Obviously, I want to talk about it, but I'm not going to bother if no one wants to hear it. Okay, how do we access your website? Talk about Costa Rica. Okay, that's in the link above. Everything's in that link above. Be careful with that. Just follow that link because I've got like a pretty decent following now. I've got like 1.5 million views, followers now. And there's a whole bunch of people out there stealing my stuff, selling it, pretending to be me. I know there's someone on Facebook pretending to be me. I am BratBusters Parenting. It's the only one if it's not BratBusters Parenting, it's not me. So don't let someone steal your money off you. Yeah, be careful. If you use the link here, that is me. But yeah, it's frustrating. But we've reported a bunch of people. You can't. They just close it down, then they start up another account and steal more money off people. Can't stop that. What do you put in the behavior board? Check it out. There's a whole little thing on it. If the behavior board is completely free, check it out. It's in the link above. I don't understand this. How often should you give in to a child's request for a certain toy? I would never buy a kid a toy unless it was their birthday or Christmas, ever. I wouldn't. And we were lucky too. Like I had a toy rotation system in place, so my kids were never bored. Also, we had a toy library where we were, and we lived in Brisbane, Australia, and there was a toy library, and it was right behind the regular library. It was all free, and I don't remember how long you had the toys for. It was like 2 or 3 weeks, and they were big. Like they were those outdoor, the big Fisher Price little slide for toddlers. Little slide, little ride-em cars. They had big doll houses, big garages with lots of toy cars, and they were just phenomenal. So I'd usually go in every week and get a new stuff out. You can get like more than one. It was phenomenal. So I was always bringing these things in. Also, I didn't ever let my kids, or I didn't ever want them to have toys that weren't creative. Like I wanted them to have a toy that wasn't finished until they'd made it, like blocks, Play-Doh, creative stuff. You know what I mean? Like they had to actually do something. I didn't just want them having something that talked back at them or something like that. You know, this Furby. Yeah. I bought my daughter a Furby for Christmas one year just to teach her a lesson, because I said, I know you really want a Furby, but I said, it's not, you're going to get very bored with it. About an hour after she got it, she was only 3. And I felt so, I did actually buy her something else. And, but I just thought I'll teach her a lesson because mom knows better. I just wanted her to understand that mom knew what she was talking about. So about an hour after she got Furby, she was bored with it. And she goes, you were right, mommy, I'm sorry. I felt so bad for her. Oh. Yeah, but that's why they were never bored, because I always had stuff that they had to create. I was always making Play-Doh. You know how hard that stuff is to stir on the stove? It's always making Play-Doh, and we're just doing silly things and making forts by using blankets over the dining table and pillows, and we'd make like tents in the house. So we're always doing creative stuff. So they never asked, not once did they ever ask for a toy. Never. If we went shopping and we're near toys, they wouldn't have touched them. They wouldn't have asked for them because they knew they're not allowed to touch stuff when we're out, and they never did. But my daughter was the one who wanted to touch everything. She was 2, and she'd be doing this, lobster claws, we used to call it. She couldn't touch anything, but her hands would be going like that. So yeah, I never let them touch anything when we were out. Oh, yes, please. Why don't we discuss bad behavior? Let's say, well, first of all, you say, okay, that was bad. So you explain that was bad. And they usually, if you know, they know anyway. So don't go on about it. Now, let's say you're arguing with your spouse, okay? And you say something snotty. You say, oh, well, I could have done better than you anyway, or something like that, okay? And then you apologize and make amends, whatever. And then he says to you, you know, that was really rotten. You made me feel really bad. I know, I'm sorry. Okay. And then that was really bad. You know why that made me feel bad? Going on and on and on. Wouldn't you just kind of shrink down? You already know, you've already made amends. You already feel like crap. It's berating and bullying. Once they understand and once the consequence is imposed, shut up about it. Parents always want to go on and on and on about how rotten their kids were. They want to berate them over it. And you know why you shouldn't do that? And how were you feeling when you did that? They just want to focus on the bad. Focus on the good kid, not the bad behavior. You're putting all your focus and energy in the wrong place when you discuss it in great detail. Just say, yeah, that was bad. Here's the consequence. Now, do you want to go to the park? It's like that quick. Hit and run. I call it hit and run. You're not hitting and you're not running, but you get the idea. It's fast. Otherwise, it's bullying and berating, and it's shaming. Don't shame. A child should never feel shame when they've just done something bad and they've been corrected. If they feel shame, you're doing it wrong. Okay. There's no lesson. If you shame them, they're more likely to do it again, because shame, it does something to them. It starts to become who they are. Yeah. You don't want to do that. Don't focus on the bad behavior. Now, some of my clients is the link in your bio. Yeah. Some of my clients are child psychologists, and they do want to discuss all this stuff. And I get it. It kind of makes sense but it doesn't, because there's a few things they argue with me. That's one of them. The other one is praise. They think praise gets good behavior. No, not at all. That's ridiculous. Praise does not get good behavior. And discussing bad behavior does not get good behavior. Discussing bad behavior gets more bad behavior. Okay. And praise does nothing for kids. Nothing. Zilch. Zero. Praise is overrated. But you are I talk about discipline all the time because that's what people ask me on here. That's not what I teach. I teach connecting, playing. Play is their love language. Fun is their love language. Teenagers, humor is their love language. Listening is their love language. Being supportive, not judging them, not shaming them. You want to be supportive. You want to be that pillar of strength and love and warmth that they can turn to. You want to be that safe place to land for your children. It's connection. That's what I'm teaching here. It's connection. We just get rid of all that pesky bad behavior. I never disciplined my kids past about 3.5, maybe 3.5 years old. They knew right from wrong, and they just chose right because they wanted to please me because I was a leader. And then they also were proud of themselves. Give your kids something to be proud of. And also, being smart and being good looking is not something to be proud of. Those are gifts that you should be grateful for. Teach them how to be nice, how to do good things, how to be nice, how to treat people. That's going to build up their self-esteem. I got to go over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. Check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, toddlers and older kids. Or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list, but I'll get to you eventually. Someone asked how long is the wait list? It can be a month long, but right now it's probably more like a week. Right now, as of this morning it was. I don't know now. But yeah, it might just be a week. Anyway, thanks so much. I'm heading over to TikTok and I'm on YouTube the whole time. Happy parenting. I don't know if any of you here do lives, but you should see all the buttons you have to push to get. Didn't used to be as many buttons. It's just been the last 6 months. Okay. I'm on TikTok now. Okay, this is a good question. This is Chan Robin. My 10-year-old son keeps asking for a phone because all his friends have one. He has a tablet, but I'm not ready for him to have a phone. He cries every time I say no. Advice? Yeah, it's a good question. I have some questions. That's why. Well, I would say no. I would say, well, you can get one when we're ready. I don't care what your friends do. I don't care if your friends, they might start drinking and doing drugs. That's okay. It doesn't mean you're going to do it. So that doesn't mean anything to me. But I do also like them to keep up with the Joneses to a certain extent. I don't know if all of his friends have phones, but I wouldn't let a 10-year-old have a phone. I would wait till they're 12. Yeah. And I would just say, well, no, it's not going to happen. He cries. Why would he cry, though? That's that when you're a leader, they wouldn't cry. So you might want to check out the boot camp course. Like, why is he crying? That's my concern here. Why is he crying? Self-pity or anger? I'm going with anger. So yeah, work on your leadership skills, and that shouldn't happen. Like if I'd said to my kids, you're going to wait till they're 12, you're 12. If they'd asked, I would have said, no, you wait till you're 12. They would have gone, oh, okay. Like they wouldn't have questioned me and they would have just accepted it. Would they like it? No, but they wouldn't go on about it. So work on your leadership skills. That would avoid the scene. Would you let your toddler have play date with another toddler who screams and yells? I really don't care about that, but I don't like hitting. I did dump a lot of friends who had toddlers that they wouldn't stop from hitting. Like they would just let them hit my kid. And both my kids would never defend themselves. They would just get hit and hit and hit. They weren't aggressive at all. So yeah, I dumped all those friends. We only saw each other at night if that was the case. So yeah, but yelling and screaming wouldn't bother me. Like that's just, as long as they're not hurting my kids. But if you're not if your kids aren't enjoying the visit anyway, why would you bother? How do you deal with sibling jealousy, rivalry, and all that stuff? We just did a podcast on that. That'll be coming out in the next week or two. Anyway, if you've got kids who don't get along, the worst thing you can do is one-on-one time with each kid. It builds resentment, and they end up hating each other. So yeah, don't do one-on-one time with them. Play with them to show them how to get along. So you play with them and you play to the weakest link. You play something that the youngest one would be just as good at. So it's something like, I don't know, TikTok dances or something silly like that. So yeah, play with them and teach them how to get along. They don't have to be friends, but they have to learn how to get along. But yeah, if you do one-on-one time, they don't care if it's fair. 30 minutes with him, 30 minutes with her, they don't care. All they see is 30 minutes with him and you got 30 minutes with her. It doesn't matter if it's fair and reasonable. They don't care. Never do one-on-one time. Only when you're teaching them how to get along. Once you've taught them how to get along, who cares, right? Any tips for leaving kids with a sitter? I got a really good one, a really good tip. I've recommended this to lots of parents. It's a bit underhanded, but this is what I would say. We never got sitters. We just never did. We had the older kids that grew up next door, teenagers from next door. So they were kids that we knew. Yeah, we were lucked out with that. We had no family around, but we lucked out with sitters. Anyway, we didn't go out very often without them. Anyway, here's what you do. You make sure, that you know of them and they come with a good resume, whatever. Then you say to them near the end of the interview, because you always interview them. And then you say, I'll tell you what, would you be uncomfortable knowing that we have cameras filming everything around here, except in the bathrooms? So that wouldn't bother you, would it? Whereas now, if someone had said to me when I used to babysit, I would have said, no problem at all. I would have gotten a raise. I didn't watch TV. I was playing with their kids all night. Anyway, so yeah, ask that question and watch their reaction. If they go, oh, I wouldn't like that at all, don't hire them. Yeah, I would have loved it. I would have got a raise. What if your child breaks the rule on their behavior board before the consequence is complete? Yeah, that happens a lot. So what you do is if it's 24-hour media blackout because they hit and they wouldn't do the chore, then you say, well, that's why you've got the blackout. There's not much you can do. Once they're in the discipline, it's already happening. You can't double it up and keep adding to it. Don't do that at all. It makes you look weak. It's not a good thing to do. Just say, well, that's why you've got the media blackout. That was your choice. And I would only say that maybe once. They keep hitting, say, well, there you go. Oh, well. Kind of like that. Chances are once that 24 hours of hell has finished, because they see it as a free reign to do whatever they want, once that 24 hours is over, they're much less likely to do it again. So yeah, you got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. Everyone wants to know how to avoid the storms. That's ludicrous. The storms are the lessons. These are the lessons. The tough times are the lessons. By the way, I'm teaching you how to get respect. Once you've got it, maintaining it's a piece of cake. Like I sailed right through the teen years. But I was just maintaining respect. That's like cleaning. I never clean a dirty house. I maintain a clean one. So it's easy. I love cleaning. I love parenting. So I got all the pesky stuff, all the heavy work done early, and then I just sail through. So anyway, but yeah. It is hard work. You got to earn this. I worked my butt off to get respect and be a leader. I really did, especially with other people's kids. I mentored kids for years and years, troubled teenagers. I earned that. I didn't expect it to be handed to me. I never just was entitled with this. I had no sense of entitlement. I'm your mother. I'm your mentor. I'm an adult. I never had any of that. I always thought, I'm going to earn this, and I give respect to get it. That's why you're on the behavior board too. You got to give it to get it. Why should it just be a one-way street? Why should they just respect you? Aren't you supposed to be good too? Yeah. Oh God, my kids. It was funny because my daughter and I are filming our podcast. She works with me. She's my partner. Anyway. And so we're filming the podcast. And one of the questions was something like, oh, well, how often did you get disciplined or something? It came up. And so really, I don't remember disciplining my kids. I remember when they were really little, but not really past that. And she goes, no, Mom, you were the one who was in trouble all the time. It was true. We both started laughing. Absolutely 100%. I'm a bit of a loose cannon. I'm kind of crazy. And so I was always the one in trouble. So it would go something like this. Hey, I promise tonight I'll make some muffins for you kids, right? So, and then my kids wouldn't say a word. They'd just go silent. And you know why? Because they knew I hate cooking, and they knew that I wasn't going to make those muffins. Sometimes I would, but if they knew I wasn't going to do it that night, they would just sit back and wait. So the next day they'd come in the kitchen together, all smiles. And I knew instantly I was in trouble. And I said, oh, shoot, what did I do? And my son was the older one, and he would say, remember last night you said you were going to make some muffins? You promised. I don't see no muffins here. So I said, oh, drats, what do you guys want? And they said, we'd love to go to the water slide park today after school. And I'd say, fine, we'll go. So you see how that worked? We had a blast. Like, it was just so much fun. And my daughter's beside him. She's 5 years younger. And she would be beside him like this. Like, they just love getting mom in trouble. So it was fun. It was all humor. Well, we just laughed every single day. I remember some of the school moms used to say, all I ever see is you drive. I had a little blue RAV4 when they first came out. I love the RAV4. Not so much now, but I used to love them when they had the black bumpers all around them. They looked like a bumper car. Anyway, so I had that. And it was me and my two kids. And they said, this is all we see whenever we see you driving by is this. You know that cartoon where the top of the head would, when they were laughing, they said, are you and your kids are just laughing all the time? And I thought, yeah, that's what leadership's all about. It's about fun and enjoyment and wallowing in your kids, having fun with them. The discipline's just a tiny part of it. So, you got to earn that though. I worked for that. I put in the hard work up front when they were little so that I could just sail through the teen years. I worked for that. You got to work for it. Do you think it helps to be physically fit parenting toddlers? I've always been into fitness, but I had a horrible back. So picking up my toddlers was really difficult for me. But yeah, of course, with any parenting, you want to be physically fit because it sets a good example for your kids too. Both my kids are really into working out. My daughter goes to the same gym. She goes every day like I do. So we're both, and my son loves to work out, but now he's a dad and he works long hours and all that. So it's harder for him. Oh, and he injured himself too. So, but yeah, you're setting a good example by being fit, but that's a personal choice. It's not for everybody. Okay. It's just my choice. But yeah, I wanted my kids to also be into health and fitness. So it was important to me. How do you feel about bed sharing? I don't have any advice on that because that's a personal choice. It's like asking about religion or Montessori or homeschooling. Those are all personal choices. If you like bed sharing, then do it. That if it works for you. It's not something I would give advice on because it's a personal choice. So yeah. How do you distinguish silly from bad behavior? Well, silly is when everyone's laughing. Bad behavior is when only one person's laughing. I don't get to all the questions. I can't. And I have to mix them up too. Depends on ages and that. Will the boot camp course work for 4-year-old and 6-year-old if only one parent is doing it? You can't get the other parent to join. Okay, the other parent. Yeah, it does. They only need one leader. What ends up happening, but the other leader can't, sabotage it. Like they can't go against it. And like if you have media blackout for the kids, they can't go in and show them the TV or something. So long as they're not sabotaging it, it doesn't matter if they join in. I have lots of families I'm coaching. Usually the other parent will end up joining in. Once they see it's not mean, it's actually about connecting. So yeah. Kinder teacher puts my son in timeout if he's misbehaving in class for 5 minutes. Oh God, I would never tell a teacher what to do. Teaching is very different from parenting. What teachers do, I would never, ever, ever tell a teacher how to do their job. Also, reward charts work really well in classrooms. I hate reward charts at home. Parenting and teaching are two different things. Some stuff crosses over, but a huge portion of my clients are teachers because they try and pull in their teaching expertise into the home, and it doesn't always work. Same with principals and child psychologists. A lot of my clients are those people, and because I couldn't do their jobs. They're different. It's different. I only teach parenting. I wouldn't have a clue how to teach teaching. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would never, ever tell a teacher what to do or judge a teacher. Do you know how many classrooms I've sat in supporting a teacher, sitting up the back of the class, controlling the bad behavior? Do you know how I feel about teachers after doing that for years and decades sitting in the, do you know how I feel about teachers? Bravo. I couldn't do it. Wow. I have nothing but respect. And people used to ask me sometimes, teachers make mistakes. They maybe are mean sometimes do you ever say anything and I said, are you freaking kidding me? I'm surprised all the kids would get out alive if I was teaching. Like, no, I would never. I'm just there to support the teacher. I just have nothing but respect for teachers. What a hard job. And they're looking after your kids for 6 hours a day. Wow. Freaking saints. In all those years, I only met one bad teacher. Two bad teachers. In all those years, I should have reported one, but she saw me coming. I knew what she did, and she saw me coming. Oh boy, she was shaken. I could have got her fired. I didn't. She was a bad teacher. It wasn't something illegal, but it was something she shouldn't have done. But yeah, I never wanted to be uninvited from the schools, so I was very careful. But yeah, in all those years I did that, only 2 bad teachers. One ended up quitting. She shouldn't have been a teacher, but the other one she got away with too much for too long. Newfoundland, hello. Oh, you got a 4-year-old. Well, toddler is under 3 to me. So you got an almost 4-year-old who throws and hits when he's upset. I've tried redirect. Don't redirect. No, there's got to be, if he's So when he's having a tantrum, you ignore him and you physically restrain him from being violent, okay? But afterwards, if he's done some damage, if he's old enough, if he's done some damage during the tantrum, I would say on the board, there's no hitting or no throwing things or no physical aggression. I would say, okay, don't mention the tantrum. Just say you threw that, so here's the consequence. Don't mention the tantrum. Okay? So, but you can address the bad behavior. Don't redirect. Redirecting is weak because you never redirect. It's diversion. You never divert with broccoli. It's always with something fun, right? So yeah, no redirection. I can't stand it. Diversion, you can do it with a baby, but not with a 4-year-old. Diversion is one of the top 3 things I can't stand. One is timeout, one is diversion, and the worst one is the countdown method. When they're doing something bad and you start counting down, you can keep being rotten for 3 counts and then there's no consequence. It's just the worst message. You can be rotten for a short term, but not for the long term. Yeah, and then you don't even have a consequence. It's a fear-based parenting method, the countdown. Where are you located? I'm in Vancouver, but in the last 2 years, I don't think I've had one client from Vancouver. Not one coaching client in Vancouver. Most of my clients are all over the world. Saudi Arabia, Ireland, Australia. I got a lot in Australia right now. New Zealand. But yeah, I don't have any clients because I don't do anything in person anymore. I don't do public speaking. I try and be anonymous here. Most days I get recognized here. But I don't do anything in person. I used to do a lot of TV and radio and I got recognized a lot more. And I really, I try and just stay sort of under the radar here. Because, if you become like a public figure, not that I am, but when people start recognizing you, I always feel like I have to act like I'm nice when I'm out in public. Sometimes I'm just in a rush and I'm cranky. So I don't want to have to pretend. I don't want people recognizing me because I want to work out at the gym unrecognized. I want to go to the supermarket unrecognized. I'm just there to work out, shop, and I don't want to have to be nice. I don't have to walk around with a smile pretending I'm all lovely. It's funny. Yeah, most people would not recognize me, but pretty much every day it happens. You don't have to be nice to me. I'm just not that type. I'm not that sweet type. You know what I mean? That smiling like Mary Poppins skipping down the road. But I always feel like, I should be just because I'm in the caring field. But it's not my style anyway. So. Okay. And when those people are always sweet and lovely and smiling all the time, don't you just want to slap them? Like, what the heck are you thinking? The types always got a smile and all that. Like, what's behind that? Okay, this is interesting. You said a couple things here I want to touch on. And you wouldn't think I would, but Our 3-year-old usually obeys. I don't like the word obey. I like the word they make good choices. So they know what's expected of them and they make good choices, right? But does it with a bad attitude and whines the whole time. That's the pride, like, sure, I'll do it, but I'm not going to want to do it. It's like that. They're trying to control you. It says you're not a leader. It says they resent you. So work on your leadership skills rather than your authority, having them obey you. So you want to switch that around. Leaders lead. They don't dictate or give orders. Like, you don't want obedient soldiers here at all. You want children who have self-discipline and they make good choices. It's all up to them. I don't care what kids do, but I'm there if they make a bad move. That's when I come in. So yeah. It just sort of says to me that you're not a leader because they resent your telling them what to do. Yeah. Check out the boot camp course. That might be a good thing for you to look into. It teaches leadership in 5 weeks. How do you be a leader? Well, I've spent 52 years figuring this out. So just keep watching or look at my videos. But the best thing to sum it up is the pool story. That is, it's Example of Leadership Parenting is the name of the video. And it's the very first video here on TikTok. And it's also the first video on Instagram. It's called Example of Leadership Parenting, and it's a pool story. I have another one. Geez, did I tell that one on a podcast? I don't like to tell that other story. It's the same story, pool story, but on steroids. It's with a teenager, and it's the exact same thing. You deal with bad behavior, but then you put all the focus, all the energy into the good kid, building that connection. So a leader connects. It's the only other role I can think of that's like what I teach. It's not like teaching or anything like that. It's a coach, sports coach that the kids that loves being with kids. They're fun. They bring out the best in kids, but they have rules, and the kids want to please that coach. That's the only role I can think of that I kind of compare to what I teach, the leadership stuff. You're like a fun sports coach, but they respect you. They want to please you. You're like a buddy. You're like a friend, but they look up to you. They want to please you, right? They want to do good for you. Okay. Have you ever dealt with stool withholding in toddlers? It comes up every single day. They will pee on the toilet, but they won't poop on the toilet. There's 3 reasons why that happens usually. So also hold back on the milk and give them a lot more clear liquids. Milk is a food and it tends to bind them up. So add water to their milk if they're drinking too much milk. Get the liquids going. Anyway, well, that's just ask your medical practitioner first, because I'm not a doctor, but generally that's just sort of standard common sense advice. But anyway, there's 3 reasons why they don't like pooping on the toilet. The first one is they don't like the splashback, so they have the splash phobia. The second one is they don't like the hanging feeling when their poop is hanging there, dangling, tugging on their rectum. They don't like that feeling, so it's the hang phobia. Sorry, I'm so graphic, but I'm a parenting coach. And also the last one is the cold. They don't like the cold feeling. So here's what I would do. I would get a little porta potty and hike up the heat in the bathroom, or you can even put them when they're sitting on that porta potty, you wrap a big blanket around them so they're nice and warm, like a little tent in there. It'll be a stinky tent, but anyway, got a story I could tell you about that. Anyway, singed off some eyebrows. But anyway, and then also put some toilet paper in the bottom of that little porta potty, and their bum's probably going to be touching the bottom, and say there's no water, so it can't splash you. And they like the feeling that when they start to poop, it's hitting the bottom already, so it's not hanging and tugging. So sorry about that, but you might want to think about those things. But it's really common, especially in boys, that they don't like pooping on the toilet. I think because they have more equipment hanging down there that gets splashed in that. I'm just guessing. I remember years and years ago, I used to do a lot of TV, and I turned up one morning. It was the breakfast TV show, and I just turned up as a parenting expert. So I was I was usually talking about a theme, and then they'd have callers calling in, because I love all that live stuff, right? So they'd have callers just like this kind of thing. So they'd have callers calling in. But anyway, I arrived, and they had bought a toilet. They went down to the hardware store, bought a toilet, and I was on stage on the set with a toilet. And they had decorated it and everything. And I thought, oh, aren't I classy? I'm on TV with a toilet. So anyway, we're laughing. They didn't tell me they were going to have that there. It was quite funny. Okay, actually, I have to get going. I've been on here for a long time. So I've got to get going now, get on with my night. And thanks so much for joining me. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, one for toddlers, one for older kids. Or you can look into coaching. I've got probably about a 1-week wait list right now for coaching. So it's dwindled down a lot. It was a month before. Anyway, so it's maybe about a week right now. So it's really good time to join if you want my coaching. Anyway, you can check all that out in the link above. Happy parenting. Bye now.